But we've got some good numbers in, so we'll jump on into it. So thank you everyone for coming along to our UK webinar, and we're going to be focusing on today on how to land your dream job in the UK. So lucky enough, we've got James logging on from our London office and myself here logging on from our Collingwood office as well. So the webinar will go hopefully not longer than much longer than 30 minutes, but we'll do our best to keep between that 30 to 40 minute mark. So we know that everyone's obviously got heaps of things they want to jump out and do, but yeah, we really appreciate everyone's time coming together this afternoon from Australia and New Zealand to learn about the securing your dream job over in the UK. So what we'll do is just start off with an acknowledgement of country for us here in Australia. So we respectfully acknowledge the traditional custodians of these lands, the Wurundjeri Wurrung peoples of the Kulin Nation, on which we are meeting today. We recognise their continuing connection to the lands, waters and skies. We pay our respects to the elders past, present, and extend that respect to all First Nations people present today. So a bit of an introduction. So myself, my name's Tyler. I know a few people on the call would have already spoke with myself, or maybe even someone else on our Global Opportunities team, but I'm our overseas recruitment team leader. And I've been working with ANZ UK for about 5 years. And prior to that, I was a PE health teacher who went over to the UK as a graduate, fresh, didn't have much of an idea what I was doing, but ended up getting an actual contract job in the UK for about 9 months. So I've lived and breathed firsthand what we're going to talk about, and then spent 3.5 years working in our London office as a consultant, helping educators find work in London and across the UK. Since coming home in 2020, pretty much since then, have been helping educators make that same journey back over. It's a move that I'm really passionate about. One of the best decisions I ever made was making that journey onwards to the UK. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to supporting with, hopefully landing your dream job in the UK. James, did you want to introduce yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm James Platt. I'm a senior consultant here in London on the South West London team. I've been with ANZ UK about 2 years now, running up to 2 years, which has been great. What a fantastic company to work for and work within. And prior to that, I worked with schools on their sort of sporting capacity, and I used to work for Skins, an Australian brand that most of you will know about, as well as a company called Rhino Rugby as well. So I've worked in schools for the last sort of 10 years, let's put it that way. And yeah, fun fact about myself is I'm a senior men's rugby union coach at a championship rugby club over here in London. So the one sort of the league below Premiership. So a man with many hats, let's put it that way.
Amazing, James. Anyone interested in some sporting clubs? Maybe the role could be down in that southwest London, Surrey area, which we'll talk about a bit on this call. You might be able to play some rugby with James too. So we'll keep on moving through. So what we're going to cover for today. So we'll give a bit of an introduction to ANZ UK. Some people on the webinar may have recently tuned into a Teach UK webinar as well, which so the slides do look pretty similar, but we do change them a lot. So don't worry, it's just a similar slide pack at the start, but it diverges a lot. So I don't think you're tuning into the same webinar again. And we'll give an intro to ANZ UK for those who aren't aware of us as a company and as a team, how we can support. But we'll chat through knowing the best time to arrive, location preferences, options, research that you should be doing or considering doing before you get to the UK, talking about the importance of a CV, a personal statement, interview tips, when considering the role, what you should be thinking about, and the types of roles that are actually on offer right now at the moment and what to expect as well. So we'll, plenty of exciting stuff to unpack, and we'll share resources as we go that links to our blog page. And across the webinar, feel free at any point to post some questions into the chat too. So James and I won't bite back, we promise. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. There will be time for questions at the end. So please feel free to turn off your camera, get to know a few other people on the call. A lot of people are traveling to the UK by themselves as well. So maybe you can meet a few people who are from a similar part of the world, going to a similar part of the world too. But James, you got a poll that we want to get everyone voting for, if possible.
I'll mute myself. Let's get everyone involved. So guys, an audience poll. We've got a chat function obviously here on Zoom. But if you can, let's answer these questions. So if you write the number and then your answer next to it, we always want to know about the people that are joining our polls here. So number one, where are you tuning in from? Number two, what subjects and years do you teach? Number three, when are you planning to come to the UK? Number four, where in the UK would you like to live and teach? And number five, are you already registered with ANZ UK? But yeah, if you're happy to sort of punch those in now, give you 30 seconds, I suppose, to put those in, and yeah, be great to see your answers.
Amazing. And the good thing with this too, we'll learn a little bit about where we've got primary teachers on the call, secondary teachers, a little bit about location and that as well. And yeah, it's just good for us to learn a little bit more about everyone on the call. And then also you might find there's a few people from a similar part of the world where you might be able to connect with them, or you might find there's a few people that are going to a similar place at a similar time too. So we would usually do these roles across the whole webinar, but we thought we'd just knock them all on the head just because we want to make sure we don't knock into everyone's dinner too much throughout the webinar. So which is great, but some great answers here already. So a few primary teachers, a couple graduates as well. Paddy, maths and media, which is great. Daniel, maths economics 2023, awesome. Bit of a mix here, which is good, James. We yeah, lots of different pathways which we can discuss for everyone's different journeys. Everyone's journey is unique as well. Everyone's going to have a different level of experience, different pathway too. So yeah, really good to see some diverse answers here. James, did you want to give us a bit of an intro to ANZ UK for those who aren't familiar with us?
Yeah, guys. So to give you an idea about ANZ UK, we're a global company. And we've got 29 offices across the world, from Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Ireland. We've got one man in Denmark, and we've got a few offices over in the US of A, which is awesome. And primarily in terms of placing teachers within schools, this is done within the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and yeah, it's the way we work. We've been doing this for 16 years plus, and we've supported. I mean, I don't know the actual number, but I'd say in the thousands plus of educators coming over from Australia and New Zealand into the UK, as well as vice versa. So some guys coming over from here over to you, who I'm sure you've bumped into a few Brits in the past over in your neck of the woods. But yeah, we're a global company, and we very much work as a team. With Tyler and the overseas team over there in Australia and over here in the UK, with our offices based in London, Surrey, Wales, and Bristol, which is in the southwest of London. So southwest London, southwest of the UK. So we have plenty of opportunities across the world for you to get your teeth into. And like I said, it's a 360 support. So guys that come over from Australia to the UK and then want to return back to Australia, we support them all the way around, which is fantastic.
And even if you've got like a bit of a gap in terms of your contract before you go to the UK, or you want to do some supply teaching work in the interim before you move over to England or to Wales, then we can really assist there as well. So we'll focus on the UK for this webinar, but just keep that in mind for your journey and how that might look for yourself. So we'll just give you a quick overview of the steps in the process, and then when you could potentially be interviewing for roles in the UK too, which is the highlight of this point. So what we'd look to do after this webinar is, if we're not already doing it, is speak with someone on our team, our Global Opportunities team here in Australia and New Zealand. We've got 5 different team members based across both countries. And then what we look to do is get you in contact with someone such as James in one of our UK offices. And once that conversation with the UK office has taken place, we're really learning about your preferences, understanding what sort of role you're looking for, which we'll talk about in this webinar a lot. And then if you're wanting to do it, we can arrange an online interview before you go to the UK. And that can be arranged via a Skype or Teams, whatever it is, with a UK head teacher or head of department. And again, we'll talk through all this throughout this webinar. If you're deciding that you might want to wait until you get to the UK for whatever reason, then obviously you could potentially look at option 2, which is when you get to the UK and you land. But we go through a compliance process, a registration process, so that the idea is that when you land in the UK, you're clear, you're ready to work, and you're available. So for people on the call, we definitely recommend to consider the online interview prior to going. It is a really good avenue and process and pathway to have that job security lined up before you get to the UK. But if you feel like it's not for you, you can, everything on this webinar will be relevant for you when you touch down in the UK too. So you'll still get some good takeaways from it as well. So there's lots of things which we're not going to talk about during this webinar because we'd be here for too long. So essentially we do teach in UK information sessions, which I know some of the people on this call have already attended. So within this webinar, we're not going to talk about visas. We won't talk about the compliance requirements. We won't talk about how to find accommodation, bank accounts, sporting clubs and all that, even though we have inadvertently spoken about a sporting club. But we have a previous webinar that I'll post within the chat that you can go back and watch in your own time. I just need to put this into the chat now. So yeah, just bookmark this YouTube clip. It's from one of our recent Teach UK webinars. If you want to learn more about some of the important stuff about the visas, etc. But we won't go through it in this webinar. You can watch it in a follow-up too. So let's get stuck into it. Hey, so the biggest thing, some of the biggest things to consider when going over to the UK, and this list of questions here, which we'll work through during this webinar. So what you want to be thinking is, when is the best time to arrive? And that works with your plan. So we'll talk about the term dates in the UK. When's the best time to arrive? And then we'll also, you need to consider, like, how does that work with your own plans? A job in Australia, a job in New Zealand, travel, etc. So thinking about when's the best time to arrive. And then where would you want to live? So thinking, what part of the UK might you consider living in, whether it's London, whether it's Surrey, maybe it's a bit more regionally, maybe you want to live in the southwest. So just thinking, where could you consider working and what sort of location would you be really interested in? And then trying to make a bank preferences of that with yourself. And then also looking at the subjects in the year groups. You know, if you're a primary teacher, do you really want to teach what's called Key Stage 2, which is upper primary? Do you maybe want to try more of the early years, or are you open to teach across both or anywhere in primary? If you're a secondary teacher, are you a maths specialist, but maybe you've got experience teaching science and you really want to give science a go? These are the things which, if you're communicating those out to us, we can really build a good picture, and James and the team on the ground can really start finding roles that suit what you're looking for. But it all comes from you thinking about these questions and feeding this information to us as well. And then think about the school, you know, like what sort of school do you want to teach in? Do you want it to be, you know, a school that aligns to your values, whatever they are, a community focused school? Do you want to have supportive leadership? Do you want support in terms of a mentor if you're a grad? So just those key things to be thinking about as well are really important. Again, just building up that picture of what your dream job could be. Thinking about your CV, is it up to date? Your personal statement, have you shared a photo with us as well? Those are the things which the UK school are going to be looking at before the interview takes place. And then the interview itself, are you prepared? Have you got your, I guess, scenarios banked up? Do you know your CV? How are you going to address certain questions in the interview? We give you support throughout that whole process, but yeah, just these questions here, I just start thinking about these ones in particular, and we'll talk through them in the next couple of slides as well. And then once you've established what you think could be your dream role, that's the dream, right? Then that's our job, essentially, to try and get you that. But keep some of your preferences open. What that means is if you've got a few parts of your preferences which might be more negotiable in a sense, maybe it's location. Maybe you really want to teach maths, but you don't care where. Or you want to teach in London, but you're not really fussed on what you teach. So just if a role presents itself that you might not be the dream job, we try and get as close to that as possible. And we'll work through some of the key considerations as we go through this webinar. And we've got some really good resources available and some blogs that we can share too across this webinar as well. Any questions, fire into the chat as well. But James is going to talk about the UK academic year and how that really factors into the best time to arrive.
Yeah, cool. So the UK academic year is split into 3 terms. So each term is related to a time of year, essentially. So you've got an autumn term. This is split into 2. So you've got a 7-week first block, then you get a week off, and you get another 7-week block leading up towards Christmas. And then the spring term is shorter. So you'll have a 6-week block. Again, another half term for a week, where you can get out to Europe, go and do your travels, and then you're back in for another 6-week block, and then you get a 2 week off for 2 weeks off for an Easter break, essentially, which again, get out to Europe. I know a few of our overseas guys travel many countries during that time. I had 2 guys come over from Victoria that are working in one of my schools, and I'm pretty sure they ticked off about 4 or 5 countries over that break last year. And then you're into the final term. Again, a short term. This is typically when we have our sort of exam season over here, and it's a 6-week block again, and then another week off, and then another 6 weeks, and then you're off for a good 6-7 weeks for summer, which a lot of people get out again, go and do some traveling, go and see some places, which is fantastic. Now, regionally, it changes. So London, every school would be following the same suit in terms of exact days, but outside of London, Wales will be slightly different. They might have a week difference here and there. The same with Bristol and with the Surrey schools. But in terms of term dates, typically you'll be looking from September to sort of mid-July to end of July every year, with week or 2-week breaks within that. So I know in the Australia side of things, you tackle 10-week terms, so the load is off with shorter weeks in terms of your sort of half terms. But the opportunity to come over whenever you want to come over, the key opportunities for securing long-term jobs are mainly September and January. That's where schools really look to hire people in long-term roles. But then also, if you are looking to come over for a summer term, the best opportunities really can secure you a role for September for the next academic year. But the opportunity as well for day-to-day cover during that time, whilst you're finding your feet, is also an option. So yeah, that's the UK dates. Like I said, they can fluctuate from area or region.
And the most important thing as well was just making sure when you're looking at your arrival time is for a long-term role, just aiming towards be at the start of the term. So if you've got, if you really want a long-term job and you decide that you want to arrive September 27th or January 27th, there just won't be as many available roles at that time. Schools do want teachers to start at the start of the term. There can be flexibility, definitely. But yeah, if you're planning your trip, make sure that if you're looking for a longer-term role, aim towards the start of the other term if possible. That's the biggest tip we can give as well. And then location-wise, we've really, I guess, spoke about this a little bit, haven't we, James, in terms of the different areas?
Yeah, I can dig this out a bit more. Essentially, our Wales our Wales office is based in Newport, which is the south of Wales. So they've got areas such as Cardiff, Newport, Swansea, within that area for your day-to-day and long-term roles. They also operate regionally in Wales too. And then our Bristol office, that spans a few different counties down there. So it will be mainly Somerset, but they secure long-term roles for educators in Bristol, Bath, and the surrounding areas around that. And then regional England, we work with schools across the country, but not as many as we do in London and Surrey. London and Surrey is a hotbed for us in terms of working with schools down there, and they vary from primary to early years to secondary to SEN schools, so special education needs schools, and schools which are called PRU schools, which are pupil referral units. So slightly tougher schools, and those schools are full of, well, not full, but they have children who are probably not suited to the mainstream side of schools. We also work with independent schools too, as well as public schools. But that's across the UK.
Yeah, and then in terms of just looking at the preferences, if you're thinking that it's a primary role at a community-focused school, or a school that's a smaller single-form school with not a large student cohort, if you're open to hearing about those sort of roles across the UK, then that's obviously going to be a really good opportunity to explore elsewhere beyond just that one city, London. It could be maybe Bristol or vice versa. And then in terms of the types of roles as well and the types of settings, James, just want to talk a little bit about the key stages for everyone.
Yeah, no worries. So we work with early years settings as well. So nurseries over here and reception classes. That would be from children from 2 to 5 at the max, and then that leads into our key stages. So they'd be in a mainstream school. Key stage 1 would be from 6 to about 8 or 9, essentially, and that follows in sort of year 1 and year 2. So it'd be reception year 1, year 2 for key stage 1. Key stage 2 would be from 8 or 9, again, depending on what year, how they were born in terms of what year. They will then go into key stage 2, and that goes up to sort of 11, 12 years of age, and that's our primary settings. Outside of that, when we go up to key stage 3, which is year 7s to year 9s, that 12 to 14 would be year 7 to year 9. And they are also in the same school as key stage 4 students. So from 14 to 16 there, that's when they take their GCSEs. Some schools have key stage 5 settings as a bolt-on, they're college settings essentially. So these are students who have decided to stay on with education. Over here in the UK, they can decide to leave education at 16. And this area essentially of secondary, you'll probably be expected to teach from key stage 3 to key stage 4, but with the potential to teach a key stage 5 as well, if the school has that setting there, that college setting. Secondary schools are mainly after specialism teachers, so maths, science, English are ones that they're always after. But they also have roles across the board, every different subject. So it could be computer science, could be DT, so design technology, resistant materials, food tech, you name it. These secondary schools get settings, need these educators. So yeah, we've got plenty of opportunity as well across that. I personally work with a trust. I think I'm going to go into it in a slide a little bit later on, but I work with a trust, and for January, I already have 21 roles for them. That's for Southwest London and Surrey, and that spans across 10 different secondary schools. So that's only one snippet of a trust that we work with. We work with plenty of other trusts across the UK and London.
Yeah, definitely. It's super exciting. Everyone looking to come up in this upcoming January for some of the roles that can be available that will be popping up. So, and then this one here just around the subject preferences and the personal preferences. So we actually, I don't think I have it as clearly listed there, but really be thinking about the type of school as well you'll be working at, whether that's a government school, Catholic school, a special educational needs school. Yeah, really honing in on that type of school. And then the different personal preferences within that school as well. So whether it's PD on offer, teaching and learning resources, the school facilities as well, whether you want it to be really well a modern school, or those little things can really help too. So but yeah, the type of school, whether it's Catholic, independent, single sex, co-educational, those are really things which we want to learn from you as well for your journey. And as we mentioned, keeping your options open, because there might not be the perfect fit. It could tick a lot of boxes. We want to get close to that dream role, but just again, learning those preferences is going to help establish what that dream role is. So looking at some points here. So I'm going to post into the chat as well, just around getting your CV up to updated, apologies. And essentially where we've got to now is your preferences are really established. You know what the type of role you're looking at, a key stage 3-4 maths position at a co-educational school in Southwest London or Surrey. So you're pretty confident that's exactly what you're looking for. The next step is making sure your CV is up to date and you've got an up-to-date photo or profile headshot, and your personal statement is shared within your CV too. So your CV, you want it to be written with a clear purpose, relevant content, succinct in structure, and highly engaging. Doesn't need to be long, and it's not meant to be long. Really looking around about a 2 to 3 page CV. That's what schools really want to see. And your personal statement, engaging, authentic, and personal, engaging, and authentic to you. So it has to be true to you, because you may get asked questions about this during the interview process as well, and it might sort of come up in the sense of getting referred back to a part of your CV. So making sure you're really comfortable with what you're putting on your CV, and we've got some really good resources and CV templates as well. And that profile headshot, essentially it just helps bring your CV to life. So share that with us too. And then you can imagine a UK school looking at 10 different CVs. If they get a photo, they know that it's James Platt, you know, a sports teacher from Surrey, England, Manchester, I should say, and you know, a ripping individual, and it just helps paint that picture. So these things, we've got some good resources, and we give a really good CV template too. But this is a really important step to help lead to the next step, potentially looking to interview with a UK school. So, James, you'll be giving preparation to potentially some people on the call for some interviews
Yeah.
in January, hopefully. So, what would you be
Of
saying?
course, of course. So, in terms of a pre-interview, research into school is huge. Your ERCs, or your education recruitment consultants over here in the UK, will be able to give you all the insides and outs about the school that you're going to interview on. And as Tyler sort of touched on there, you know, knowing your CV and being prepared is huge for your pre-interview prep. If you need more information about the school that you're going to be interviewing at, reach out to your ERC over here in London, grab them for a 10-15 minute call, ask them for an email. We're here to support you. So we want to be able to get you as prepared as possible for each interview. The next steps in terms of during an interview, essentially these interviews could be in person, or like for the Bourne Education Trust, which I'll go into again a little bit later on. These could be online before you've even left Australia or New Zealand. These interviews are quite relaxed because they are, you know, visually. However, you know, be present, be engaged, always have that conversation, and it's all about selling yourself and what you can add. You know, what are your added values. So make sure you dress smartly for that interview too, and get a bit of a structure on your answers. Tyler's got there the STAR method, so jump on that, research the STAR method prior to your interview. Tars, I don't know if you want to jump in just to say what the STAR method is.
Yeah, there's one of a few. So it's situation, task, action, result. So just talking about the situation itself, which was obviously taking place during whether it's a lesson or whether it's a staff room interaction, what you then needed to do to obviously move that forward, and what the action that needed to take place, and then what the result was. So there's a few different methods which you can look at, but just trying to structure it in that method then allows for it to be clear and succinct. And essentially it's that result. So whatever situation you put forward in an interview, what actually happened, and what was the positive result, and what were some learnings as well? What could you have done differently, or why it worked well? So just being reflective of whether it's a behavior management strategy, or whether it's collaborating with your team to develop curriculum or content, or if you're a graduate teacher, what you've done in your practicum. So yeah, just having that as a thought around how you're going to structure your answers. Do role plays, get a friend, get a colleague, or maybe potentially not a colleague, depends on the situation, but someone who you know and you trust. But we give you resources, we give you support. We talk about UK specific questions as well. One question which always comes up in interviews is something on safeguarding, and not many people on the call probably know what safeguarding is. For the Australians and the Kiwis, I'm pretty sure it's the same in New Zealand, it's called mandatory reporting. So in the UK, you always get a safeguarding question asked, but we'll give you all this give you all these insights. And sorry, James, not to take over the slide at all.
Good.
I really wanted to jump on to ask the valuable questions. Have 3 to 5 questions ready to go at the end of the interview, because essentially it's a two-way interview is the best way to look at it. The school wants to know what impact you'll have on the staff environment and on the students' learning outcomes, and what you'll bring to the school community. That's going to be the school's focus, but you want to know it's the right school for you too. So making sure you're asking those questions about resources, support, what's the structure of the staff room that I'm going to be, or the learning department. Just have some really engaging questions, and they really help the school have trust that you're prepared and you're really going to be a good fit for that school, and you're going to find out that it's a good fit for you too. James, sorry, I stole that last point.
No, yeah, you're good. You've taken exactly what I was going to say. No worries, all good. So in terms of post interview, obviously say thank you to the panel. Sometimes you might have an interview one-on-one, or it might be with a group of senior leadership members of that school, and then afterwards debrief of ANZ UK. So give your ERC a call, let them know how it went. Sometimes schools will offer you the job there and then verbally, which is fantastic. But yeah, always debrief with ANZ UK. We debrief with the school, and we'll look to sort of marry these two together. That leads us obviously nicely into once you've accepted the role, because ideally we want you to be comfortable and take a long-term role prior to that. But if you want to do a day-to-day, it's absolutely fine. But once you've accepted the role and successful, your ERC over here will liaise with you and the school to get over any extra information you need prior to starting with the school. We'll probably arrange a visit as well. So if you landed, let's say, just before the end of the autumn term, December 20th, or sorry, mid-December, the school probably like you to come in, say hello, maybe do a lesson here or there. We'll support that, and also link with the school. But yeah, once you've accepted the role, there's significant difference between doing a long-term role and a day-to-day role. Long-term role, you've got security working at the school through ANZ UK. You get paid to scale as well. So over here we've got different pay scales, from a newly qualified teacher up to someone who's got 6 years worth of experience. There is a jump every year in terms of experience level. So you can see a significant increase in pay. You also know what school you're going to, you know where you're going every day. Whereas if day to day, if you like that variety, so you don't get paid as much, but you do get to see different settings and get the opportunity to see where potentially you might want to work in the long term. And on that as well, if you take a long-term role, or even if you work with on a day-to-day basis, you get a £500 flight reimbursement. And obviously we'll get some details in there from Tyler. I think he's already posted on there, which is awesome. And there's various perks in terms of getting a 50% refund on your visa from our visa support team, and then referring a friend as well. Anyone that comes over and works 10 days, is it $150 over there? Over here in the UK, it's a $100 referral once they've done 10 days, which is always good. I had an actress over here. She was working for us on a bit of flexible work. She referred 8 of her friends, and they all did 10 days. So she was swimming in the money over here. Took them all out for drinks, I hope.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got probably about 5 minutes to go, everyone on the call. So what we're going to do now for the next couple of slides is really want to focus in on a big group of schools that we're partnering with at the moment, which is called the Bourne Education Trust. And then after that, we'll just give you like a high level oversight in terms of some dates and some roles that you could be considering. But yeah, we'll just spend the next couple of minutes just on a few different live opportunities, and then we'll sort of tie towards the end of the webinar. We will. So this is an exciting one, James. I know we already spoke about it a little bit, but yeah, give everyone the scoop of what's happening down in London and Surrey with Bourne.
Yeah, so we've worked with Bourne Education Trust probably since 2014 now, and it's a trust that spans across 2 regions for us, so Southwest London and down in Surrey as well. And they have they've got 10 secondary schools. They've got 2 SEN schools or pupil referral units, and then they've got another 12 primary schools. Now we're in this current moment, we're working predominantly with the secondary schools, and they've already given me 22 jobs to fill for January. So in this instance, we've decided to create a ANZ UK BET, or Bourne Education Trust, interview week, where we have slots to place educators in, specific to the roles that they need and specific to the areas where they need them. And that is kicking off on the 17th of October. And people are going to be interviewing during that time, during that week. Early doors for us, but in the afternoon for you guys, just for the time difference. And what we're looking to do is supporting this trust and making placements for January in October. So we've got our educators that are fully supported, looked after within this trust, and they're already placed before they land, essentially. We've got some extra bits coming out in terms of more information for the school, for the schools that we work with within the trust, in terms of a video. We've got the educational director on there, head teachers of schools, overseas overseas educators that have come over, work for the trust for ANZ UK, and are now permanent with the schools and the trust. And we've got some guys that have come over and are currently working within the trust, and they're more than likely going to be made permanent as of January. They would have been there for a full academic year,
Yeah.
which
And
is
the
great.
great thing, just sorry to jump in, James, with Bourne
Christ.
Education Trust, amongst many other schools in the UK, they're really familiar with ANZ UK, us as a company, and that means they're really familiar with overseas educators as well from Australia and New Zealand. So they know that there are differences in the curriculum. They know that you're making a big risk. You're moving to a new country. You might not know anyone. So they're really good at putting support in place. And because we've worked with Bourne for the past literally 8 years, I know the school quite closely, this group of schools when I was working in the UK. They're really amazing places to teach. Everyone who works there absolutely loves it. They're really supportive and I guess just friendly places to work. The staff are great. The kids are relatively well behaved across the trust as well. British kids are different in the sense of like obviously behaviour management can be more of a focus in some schools, but yeah, generally Bourne the schools, the students can be better behaved than what might be some other London and Surrey schools. So
Definitely.
But yeah,
Definitely.
we'll talk through the next steps as well in a minute. But we just want to sort of tie towards the end of the webinar, and I'll share with you a couple calendar invites to the different team members we have on our team, and then also some email addresses as well, so you can directly contact some of us. Or actually, we'll put James's email to send it out to everyone too. But in terms of if you don't think London, Surrey or Bourne's for you for whatever reason, hopefully it is. But there's going to be the October resignation date is in a couple of weeks in the UK. So essentially make sure you're getting in contact with us if you're wanting to write for this January about what you're looking for and your preferences, because we're going to have a wide variety of secondary and primary positions that become available over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Some schools are already looking for January 2023. If you're looking beyond, so a few people in the chat obviously said, September, and a few people had mentioned September next year or April. Just still keep us in the loop. Schools will start recruiting for April in January. So April 2023, schools will start recruiting in January. For September next year, schools will start recruiting pretty much from March, April onwards. Some schools are really organised and getting early, but most schools will be looking from the start of the new year for those roles next year, beyond April and September. So if January is not for you, that's fine. There's still going to be other times to arrive, which you've already worked through. But we really want to learn what your preferences are. We just going to continue to wrap up essentially. That was just a testimonials. I'm conscious of time and we ran a little bit over. Here's just some final points around why obviously ANZ UK. So we're focusing on securing a job and a role over in the UK. That's been the targeted point of the webinar, but there's so much more that we want to offer, whether it's events that we'll host before you go to the UK or when you arrive, to the community of educators in our Facebook groups, through the networks you'll meet when you're out teaching, online PD, blog page, lots and lots of resources we have available in our info pack. So hopefully you've learned a lot about what roles could be on offer and what could really attract yourself for a role in a UK school. This is just an overview of ANZ UK, us as a team. So we are really thankful for everyone coming along to this webinar. I'm going to post into the chat now just a bit of a snapshot of where how our team's structured, and where you're based. Hopefully this comes through clear. I didn't type this up onto a slide, apologies, but essentially if you're based in Metro Melbourne, Queensland or Northern Territory, drop myself an email. Sorry, actually I need to repost this. I've written the name wrong. So it's give me a second. I want to repost this. It's Olivia if you're based in Metro Melbourne. It's myself if you're based in regional Vic. And if you're a Kiwi, that is going to be my colleague Claire. And then also, if you want to learn more from James, I'm just going to post his details into the chat as well. Or James, do you want to type in? I'll do it now. It's the easiest thing to do. I'll put James's email into the chat as well, so everyone can reach out to any of us that I've just posted in there. Oh, great stuff, James. But questions, so feel free to turn your mic off, post into the chat. Whatever it is that you want for us to talk through, we're more than happy to run through that. If anyone has any questions.
Just a quick one, Tyler. the email was my one because it's a PL rather than P, or else there's a chap in Sydney who'll be getting a lot of emails.
Yeah,
That should be coming to me. It's all right.
I'm so sorry, James. I sort of butchered that last slide with giving out our details. So apologies, everyone. But essentially from here, we'll still. I just want to make sure everyone's across all the next steps. Drop any of us an email. Let us know if you want to interview for January for Bourne or other UK schools. Let us know when you're potentially looking to arrive next year. And yeah, we're really, really eager and happy to support with your journey ahead. There's lots of schools at the moment. There's a big teacher shortage in the UK. So there's a huge demand at the moment for overseas educators. So lots and lots of work available. And yeah, hopefully everyone on the call can find their dream job over in the UK through ANZ UK. So I'll park it for a sec. Please post into the chat questions. Turn the mic off, whatever you like.
Don't be shy.
Yes.
Yeah. Just in relation to the beginning of the teaching year in September, did you say that the hiring process is around June then, or was it?
Yeah, so great question there, Paddy. So for September next year, the hiring processes for the really organised schools would start from February at the earliest. Vast majority of schools will be recruiting from May onwards, essentially for September. So May, June and July would be the busiest times for the September windows. But yourself, Paddy, I can't remember what your subjects were. I know you might have posted them into the chat.
They were secondary, it's P to 12, but hopefully secondary maths and media. Yeah,
so maths, as an example, maths is a subject area where it's a huge teacher shortage. So schools for maths teachers, pardon me specifically, they would be recruiting earlier because they're harder to fill roles essentially. So you might even hear about roles from February onwards, but if you haven't heard anything, come May or June, that's when most schools will start recruiting.
Fantastic. Yep. Thanks heaps for that.
All good, mate.
No worries, Paddy. Bourne Education Trust with your name on it, Paddy. I've got a couple of schools over there that would be pretty keen.
Surrey sounds unreal. So yeah, I'll get on to that. Thanks, James.
Surrey's great. Yeah, it's real. In our other webinar, we talk about the areas in more detail. We'll just sort of high level overviewed it, but yeah, Surrey's a beautiful place to live and to teach, definitely.
So, thanks, guys.
I have a question. With the Bourne Trust, I'm more primary based. You do work with some primary schools, though, is that correct?
Yeah, we work with a handful. There's a lot more of work we're doing with them. Myself and my colleague who works in the Surrey area called Kate are meeting with every single head of their primary schools on the 17th of October as well. And from this, what we're looking to do is set up an interview week similar to the one we're doing with the secondary schools. So watch this space. There will be more of these opportunities come up within the trusts, not just not just Bourne Education Trust, but various trusts around London and Wales and Bristol.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm in contact with Kate already, so that's perfect.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so the schools for primary schools generally will be after that October resignation date, just because some secondary schools are just a bit more forward, have a bit more of an emphasis on forward planning for vacancies. So yeah, hopefully, like James said, there can be, up to 20 vacancies for primary school teachers come, after the October half-term break.
I'm not thinking of going until September 23.
Oh,
sorry.
of course you are, Liz.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah.
So we've got ages,
we'll by then we will have interview. The aim of the game with this specific trust will be having 3 weeks throughout the academic year.
Yeah.
Geared to those key higher points. So September, January, and then leading into the summer term. So that will be the aim of the game, and it'll be for secondary and primary.
Sorry, I didn't realise it was you, Liz.
No.
I could see Elizabeth Camp, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. And then I looked at the other screen, which I've got here, and it says Elizabeth Campbell. I'm like, oh my god, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's fine.
Yeah, great question though, Liz.
Thanks.
Anyone else? For anyone else?
Well, the good thing is, everyone, it's not forever hold your peace, because we will talk to you again if obviously you book a call with us or we get the ball rolling. But yeah, exciting time. Obviously, the prospect for international travel now is looking really great, to be honest. You know, it's definitely been an interesting couple of years, but the pathway to move to the UK is a pretty smooth one at the moment, and we're really excited to support with everyone's journeys. It's a big jump for everyone, and hopefully that, you know, the preferences that you can help establish from this webinar, and, you know, the future conversations that you have with ANZ UK, that's going to hold you in great stead for, you know, really finding that dream job in the UK. We do have a question though from Daniel. So when should we get the ball, get in touch to get the ball rolling, if we are looking for a September 2023 start? Great question. Essentially from today onwards, Daniel. So we can start the process within 12 months of your intent to arrive in the UK. And if you're looking to arrive September 2023, that's less than that 12-month window. So we could get you in contact with one of our global opportunities consultants, such as myself, Liv, or Claire. We do have another couple team members starting with us shortly, but yeah, for us for now, it'll just be the three of us. We have a visa support team who will also help, but yeah, tee up a call with us, and then what we look to do is get you in contact with the UK consultant on the ground in the UK. Essentially, once we've got your CV back, as soon as we've got that, then yeah, you can speak to someone who's based in the UK, and book in a call with Olivia. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, so Liv's on leave at the moment. So she's from New Zealand. She's actually coming back from leave from Monday onwards. So yeah, if you drop her calendar will be updated. So if you jump into that link and just book a time for the call, then she'll be able to connect with you in the next couple of weeks.
Sorry, just a quick question from me. In terms of the CV template, would I find it on that link in the chat? Yeah,
it should be in there. So if you go into that link, what I could potentially, click on that link in the chat, and then within there, the links out to a template that you can download. So if you scroll down, I can just show everyone here actually, to be honest. Give me a sec, I'll go into the chat actually, just so everyone can see the CV template as well. Apologies, this is a little bit messy. I didn't have this. Oops. Just so everyone can see what we're talking about, because I know not everyone might be in that blog as well, Lizzie. So if you're in this blog and you're looking at the Sparkle from the Crowd, if you scroll down here, you've got ANZ UK formatted CV template, and if you click here, you can then just download this as well. And it's essentially guided that it has steps throughout the CV too. So you can look at it and then delete aspects of it as well.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and then just save as. I think it's gone through to my shared point because I own it, but it should just download for you, I think. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, no worries at all. Great question though, Lizzie. And we give you support in the CV as well. So like, yeah, if you wanted to put together your CV, and we can provide feedback on that too.
Awesome, thank you.
Good. Well, if we have any other questions, yeah, feel free to shout out. But I guess overall, yeah, another thank you. Questions, if they pop up after the webinar, just fire them across to us and the team, and we'll be very happy to assist at any point. Yeah, James, thank you as well for jumping in. I know you might be getting off the line and maybe trying to engage with a couple of educators if they're keen for January 2023. But for everyone on the call looking for a little bit later on, yeah, we'll make sure we stay in touch and get in contact with you in the coming weeks ahead. But yeah, really excited to support everyone on the next journey.